When 79-year-old Harold sat in his recliner one quiet afternoon, he found himself looking at a box of old letters he'd written to his children years ago. Most of them were never sent. Some were half-finished, others sealed, but never mailed. Inside were thoughts, regrets, and bits of advice he'd meant to share, but always thought, "I'll tell them someday." That someday, however, never seemed to come. Life moved too quickly: work bills, family milestones, the constant noise of routine. Now, as he sorted through those yellowed envelopes, Harold realized that the words he once thought could wait had become the ones he most wished he'd said. In one of those unsent letters he had written to his son, "Don't worry so much about getting everything right. Worry about staying kind." He smiled reading it, realizing how true it still was. Another note to his daughter said, "Take more pictures. You'll never think you look perfect, but one day you'll wish you had more memories to hold." Harold sighed softly. "If only I'd said these things when they needed to hear them." The truth is, so many seniors carry that same quiet weight, the lessons learned too late, the wisdom earned through decades, the stories left untold. They often think their family already knows what's important, or they hesitate, afraid their advice will sound like nagging. But the heart always knows when something meaningful has gone unsaid. For many older adults, this realization comes with time, the awareness that the things that once felt ordinary were actually the ones that mattered most. It's not the grand achievements, but the everyday kindnesses, the laughter at the dinner table, and the moments of forgiveness that stand out when the years stretch long behind you. Harold said, "I used to think I had forever to share what I'd learned. Now I just hope it's not too late to say it out loud." That's the quiet struggle for so many seniors, knowing something valuable, yet holding it in, because they don't know how to begin. Some worry their children are too busy to listen. Others feel that no one really wants advice anymore in a world that moves too fast. And sometimes it's guilt, feeling they didn't always model those lessons perfectly, so they hesitate to speak them now. 81-year-old Mary described it best. "You reach an age where your wisdom finally catches up to your mistakes, and you realize how much it could have helped someone else." She used to tell her granddaughter, "Learn from your grandma's bruises, not just her stories." But something changes when you decide to share even a little. For Harold, it was one simple moment. His grandson Jack stopped by one Saturday to ask for help fixing an old lawnmower. While they worked, Harold mentioned how his father had taught him patience, not through words, but by watching him tinker quietly, without complaint. Jack listened more closely than Harold expected. Later that day, Jack texted him, "Grandpa, I think I finally get what you mean about patience. Thanks." That short message made Harold tear up. Maybe it's not too late after all, he thought. That was Harold's turning point, realizing that wisdom doesn't expire. Whether you're 70 or 90, it's never too late to pass on the lessons that shaped your life. Even one honest conversation can echo through generations. In today's video, we'll explore 5 life lessons seniors wish they had shared earlier with family. These aren't lectures or clichés. They're heartfelt reflections drawn from real experiences of older adults who learned that sometimes the greatest gift you can give your loved ones isn't money or possessions. It's understanding. If this message already speaks to you, please tap the like button, subscribe to Senior Ways, and share this video with someone who still listens with their heart. And in the comments, tell us, what's one piece of advice you wish you'd shared sooner? Lesson 1. Don't wait to say what matters most. 82-year-old Eleanor still remembers the last conversation she had with her sister. They were sitting in Eleanor's kitchen arguing about something so small that neither of them could recall what it was later. A few months after that day, her sister passed away unexpectedly. "I never got to say I was sorry," Eleanor said softly, "and that has stayed with me all these years." For many seniors, time has a way of revealing what really matters and what never did. The grudges, the misunderstandings, the need to be right all fade in importance. What remains are the things left unsaid: "I love you," "I forgive you," "I'm proud of you," or simply, "Thank you for being in my life." These are the words people assume they'll always have time for, until suddenly they don't. Researchers from the University of Wisconsin found that expressing love and gratitude strengthens emotional resilience and even improves physical health, particularly among older adults. Saying kind words out loud, not just thinking them, releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone which lowers stress and increases feelings of connection. It's nature's reminder that love was meant to be spoken, not stored. Eleanor eventually wrote her sister a letter, years too late to send, but not too late to heal. I said everything I wish I'd said before she said. And even though she's gone, I felt like a weight lifted off my chest. Her advice to her children now is simple. Don't let pride or fear hold your words hostage. If you love someone, tell them while you can. Because silence, no matter how polite, never says enough. Lesson 2. Life isn't about perfect timing. It's about presence. 77-year-old Dennis used to plan everything. Vacations, family dinners, even phone calls with his kids. I always thought I'd enjoy life more when things calmed down, he said. But they never really did. When he finally retired, his health began to slow him down, and he realized something heartbreaking. He had spent so much time preparing to live that he forgot to live. Many seniors share that same quiet regret, waiting for the right time. The right time to take a trip to learn something new, to visit family, or to say yes to joy. But time, as Dennis learned, doesn't always give second chances. I thought I'd travel more once the house was paid off, he said. Now I'd give anything for one more walk on the beach with my wife. The truth is, presence doesn't need perfect circumstances. Psychologists describe it as intentional awareness, the ability to notice the life you're in, not the one you're planning for. A study at Harvard found that people who practice mindful presence, simply paying attention to the moment, experience higher satisfaction, lower anxiety, and even better memory function as they age. Dennis began practicing a small ritual every morning. Before reaching for his phone or coffee, he would step outside, breathe deeply, and look at the trees in his backyard. It sounds silly, he laughed, but it reminds me that I'm still here, still living this day, not just waiting for the next. He now tells his grandchildren, don't wait for your schedule to clear. Life doesn't start later, it's happening right now. That awareness changed everything for him. His meals taste better, his conversations feel richer, and even the simplest days feel like blessings. Because, as Dennis says with a smile, you can't enjoy life in the future tense. Lesson 3. True happiness comes from simplicity, not stuff. When 80-year-old Ruth downsized her home last year, she filled 10 boxes with things she once thought she could never part with. Old furniture, expensive clothes, even souvenirs from trips she barely remembered. But what made her pause wasn't what she was keeping, it was what she was letting go of. I realized, she said, that none of these things had ever made me happy. The people did, the moments did, the laughter did. As we age, priorities shift naturally. Many seniors discover that the endless pursuit of more possessions, more status, more approval, often leads to less contentment. It's not because those things are bad, it's because they can't fill emotional needs that only connection and peace can. Psychologists call this the contentment curve, a well-documented pattern, showing that happiness often rises again later in life once people stop chasing and start appreciating. Seniors who focus on relationships, gratitude, and purpose consistently report higher life satisfaction than those who measure success by accumulation. Ruth decided to gift many of her keepsakes to her children and grandchildren. She said, watching them enjoy those things gave me more joy than owning them ever did. Now her living room is open, simple, and full of light, just like the way she says her heart feels. Her advice is timeless. When you spend your life collecting things, you eventually have to pack them away. But when you spend your life collecting memories, you get to carry them with you forever. Lesson 4. Forgiveness frees you more than anyone else. 79-year-old Leonard hadn't spoken to his younger brother in nearly 3 decades. They'd argued over their parents' inheritance, and both refused to back down. I told myself I didn't care, Leonard said, but every time his name came up, I felt my stomach twist. It wasn't until he suffered a mild heart attack that he realized just how heavy resentment had become. The doctor told me to cut back on stress. Leonard laughed. I didn't realize forgiveness was part of that prescription. Harboring anger, guilt, or regret is common, but science now shows it can take a physical toll. Studies from Stanford University found that people who practice forgiveness experience reduced anxiety, lower blood pressure, and improved immune function. The body literally relaxes when the mind lets go. Leonard finally wrote a letter to his brother, not to reopen old wounds, but to close them. I told him I hoped he was well and that I wished I'd handled things differently. He didn't know if he'd get a reply, but a few weeks later, one arrived. It said, "Me too." That's all it took. For Leonard, forgiveness wasn't about excusing the past. It was about freeing his heart from the constant replay of it. "I didn't forgive him for him," he said. "I forgave him for me." That act transformed the final chapter of his life. The two brothers even met for coffee before Leonard's 80th birthday. He now tells his grandchildren, "Don't wait until it's too late to say, 'I forgive you.' The weight you carry isn't theirs, it's yours, and you deserve to walk lighter." Because, as he puts it, forgiveness doesn't change what happened. It changes what happens next. Lesson 5. Time is the real treasure, not the clock that measures it. 81-year-old Carol once told her grandson, "You'll never understand how fast life moves until you start counting it in memories instead of minutes." She said it while flipping through an old photo album filled with birthdays, family picnics, and lazy Sunday afternoons that once felt endless. "Back then," she said, "I thought we'd have thousands more of those days. Turns out they were priceless while they were happening. I just didn't know it." For many seniors, that's the bittersweet truth. Time is the most precious thing they ever had, and the only thing they can't give back. But it's also the greatest gift. They can still offer their presence, their stories, their listening ear. Psychologists call this the end-of-life perspective advantage, the ability older adults have to recognize what truly matters after decades of experience. Studies show that seniors who focus on meaningful use of time rather than counting it report greater happiness, less regret, and stronger family bonds. Carol says she used to think love was measured by what she could do for others, buying gifts, planning trips, helping financially. But now she's learned that what her family cherishes most is her time. "When I sit with my granddaughter and listen to her talk about her dreams," she said, "I feel rich again." Her advice is beautifully simple. The clock keeps ticking whether you rush or rest. So choose to be present, not just busy. Time doesn't slow down, but we can slow ourselves enough to truly live it. When Harold finally shared his box of unsent letters with his family, he didn't expect much. He thought they might skim through them politely and move on. Instead, his daughter cried, his grandson hugged him, and his son said, "Dad, I wish you'd told us these things sooner, but I'm glad you're telling us now." That night, Harold slept better than he had in years. It wasn't because he'd fixed everything or erased the past. It was because he'd released what had been locked inside his heart for so long. "I thought wisdom only mattered if people learned from it," he said later. "But I realize now it matters just as much when you finally share it." That's the quiet transformation forgiveness, honesty, and reflection bring in later life. Seniors who speak their truths don't just leave behind lessons, they leave behind connection. They give their loved ones a map of what really counts: kindness, gratitude, simplicity, and time. Harold now keeps a small notebook by his chair. Every week he writes down one thing he's learned about life. Not for himself, but for his family. "I don't want my lessons to stay in boxes anymore," he smiles. "I want them to stay in hearts." Final thoughts. So let's take a moment to remember the 5 life lessons seniors most wish they had shared earlier. First, don't wait to say what matters most, because love unsaid is love unheard. Second, be present, because life isn't waiting for a perfect moment, it's happening right now. Third, find joy in simplicity, because memories outlast possessions. Fourth, forgive freely, because forgiveness heals the one who gives it. And fifth, treat time as treasure, because what you give your attention to becomes your legacy. These lessons are not about regret, they're about awakening. They remind us that the wisdom of age isn't about looking back, it's about shining light forward. The greatest inheritance any senior can leave isn't written in a will. It's written in how they've loved what they've learned and the courage they show by sharing both. So if you're watching this, maybe take a page from Harold's story. Don't wait until someday to tell your family what you've learned, what you cherish, and what you forgive. Because those conversations, those moments of honesty, will echo long after the words fade. If this message touched your heart, please hit the like button, subscribe to Senior Ways, and share this video with someone you love. And in the comments, tell us, if you could share one life lesson with your family right now, what would it be? Because in the end, it's not the number of years that matter, it's the wisdom we pass on while we still can.